The encounter. The battlefield was quiet that evening. Smoke rose in the distance, and broken metal lay across the ground like fallen bones. The human soldier walked slowly, his boots heavy from the long patrol. He carried only a small pack and a half-empty ration. War had drained him, but he kept moving because soldiers had no choice. As he crossed the ruins of a burned village, he felt something. It was not the sound of soldiers or machines, but something softer. He stopped, listening. There was a faint sound, like a weak breath or a stifled sob. He turned his head and saw movement between two collapsed walls. At first he raised his weapon, thinking it might be an enemy waiting in the shadows, but then he saw her. A small alien girl, her body thin like a stick, her eyes large and shining even in the dust. Her skin was pale and cracked, her clothes torn. She looked more like a ghost than a living being. The soldier lowered his weapon but did not move closer. He knew many tricks in war. Sometimes children were used as bait. But when the girl tried to stand, her knees gave way, and she fell against the wall, too weak to rise. That weakness was not a trick. It was real hunger. For a moment, the soldier stood frozen. He remembered his orders: help no alien, trust no one. The army had made it clear. Aliens were the enemy, even the small ones. But as he looked at the girl, he saw no enemy. He saw only a child fighting to stay alive. Slowly, he reached into his pack. He pulled out the last piece of bread from his ration. It was dry and hard, barely enough for him. He hesitated, knowing he would go hungry if he gave it away. But then he stepped forward and held it out. The girl's eyes widened. She stared at the bread as if it were treasure. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. When her fingers touched his, they were cold like ice. She clutched the bread and began to eat. Not caring for manners, just surviving, the soldier watched in silence. Every bite she took made her look more alive. When she finished, she looked up at him. Her lips moved. But no words came out. Instead, she pressed her small hand against her chest and bowed her head. It was not the bow of an enemy, it was gratitude, pure and silent. The soldier felt something strange stir inside him. In this war, there had been no kindness, only orders and survival. But this little alien girl, with nothing left in her world, had thanked him with a simple gesture. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then the girl turned, limping toward the shadows. The soldier did not stop her. He told himself it was safer this way. He told himself he would never see her again. But even as he walked away, her face stayed in his mind. The hollow cheeks, the desperate hunger, and the way her eyes had glowed when he gave her food. He had seen many things in war: suffering, death, betrayal. Yet nothing had struck him like this, because this was not strategy or battle. This was life itself, fragile and begging to be saved. That night, as he rested in his shelter, he thought about her. The ruins were silent except for the distant thunder of artillery. He closed his eyes, but sleep did not come. He wondered if she had a family. He wondered if she would survive the night. The soldier told himself it was not his problem. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. He had broken a rule, he had fed the enemy, and yet, for the first time in a long while, he felt human again in the cold silence of war. A simple act of giving bread had created a spark. He did not know it yet, but this spark would grow. It would return to him in ways he could not imagine. Because that little alien girl, hungry and weak, was not gone. She would come back, and with her a story that would change his life forever. The return. The soldier thought the memory of the little alien girl would fade with time. War always buried faces under new battles, new orders, new losses, but she stayed in his mind, as if her hungry eyes had carved a place inside his chest. He told himself he would never see her again, and yet part of him hoped he would. Days passed, the war raged on, and the soldier moved with his unit across broken fields. Every night, when he sat alone with his cold rations, he thought of the girl eating the bread. He wondered if she had survived, or if the ruins had swallowed her like so many others. One evening, while patrolling near the edge of the forest, he heard footsteps. They were light, hesitant, nothing like a soldier's march. He raised his weapon, his training sharp, but then lowered it again when he saw her. The same little alien girl stepped out of the shadows. Her eyes brighter now, her body less weak, but she was not alone. Beside her stood a tall figure cloaked in ragged fabric, moving with a slow, careful strength. The figure's face came into the light and the soldier froze. It was a woman, an alien woman with scars across her cheek and fire in her gaze. The girl clung to her side, pointing at the soldier with a trembling smile. The woman studied him in silence, her body tense like a fighter ready to strike. Her hand rested on a blade at her hip, and her eyes searched his every move. But the girl whispered something in her own language. Tugging at her mother's arm, the tension broke just a little. The woman exhaled, slow and heavy, and then lowered her weapon. The soldier's heart pounded. He could not believe it. The girl had returned, and she had brought her mother. The little one stepped forward, holding his gaze. She touched her chest with her small hand again, the same gesture of thanks she had shown before. But this time she spoke, her words broken but clear. "You save me food," she said, her voice fragile but determined. The mother's sharp eyes softened at the sound of her daughter's voice. She bowed her head slightly toward the soldier, a small gesture, but one filled with meaning. For a proud alien warrior to bow to a human was unheard of. Yet here she was, showing respect. The soldier did not know what to say. He had fed the girl because he could not watch her starve, but he had never expected her to remember, much less return with her family. The girl took his hand, her grip small but warm, pulling him closer. The mother did not stop her this time, though her eyes still held caution. The soldier led them toward his campfire. It was a dangerous choice if his commanders discovered this. He could be punished or worse, but something inside him refused to turn them away. He broke his ration in half again, offering it to the mother. For a moment she hesitated, pride and hunger warring in her eyes. Then she accepted, eating slowly, carefully, as if every bite was a memory of old battles. The girl, meanwhile, smiled as if the world had changed. The soldier watched them in silence, his heart uneasy yet full. For the first time since the war began, his fire burned not just for survival but for company. When night fell, the mother finally spoke. Her voice was low, rough, carrying the weight of someone who had suffered much. "You gave food to my child," she said in halting human tongue. "No one else. No alien, no human. Only you." Her words cut through the night like a blade. The soldier felt a chill. He realized this was not just about hunger. The girl and her mother had been abandoned, left to die by both sides. They had found him not because he was the strongest, but because he had shown kindness. And now they had chosen to return. The fire crackled, shadows dancing across their faces. The girl leaned against the soldier's arm, her breathing steady, her small body warm with trust. The mother watched closely, her eyes still guarded. But when she saw her daughter smile in her sleep, something in her expression softened. For the first time, she let her guard down, if only a little. The soldier sat awake, staring at the flames. He knew he had crossed a line. This was no longer a chance meeting, no longer a single act of pity. This was the beginning of something deeper, something dangerous, because now the girl and her mother were not just strangers. They were part of his life, and he could not turn back. In the silence of the night, a thought echoed in his mind. He had given food once, and she had returned with her family. What would she bring next time, he wondered? What new weight would fall on his shoulders? He did not know the answer, but his heart already knew one truth. The little alien girl and her mother were not leaving him, not now, not ever. The shelter, the soldier woke before dawn. The fire was little more than ash, and the cold air pressed against his skin. Beside him, the alien girl still slept, her small face peaceful for the first time since he had met her. The mother sat awake, her eyes sharp even in the half-light, watching him as if every breath of his could be a trick. They did not speak at first. The silence was heavy, filled with the unspoken truth that this was dangerous. Humans and aliens were enemies, and yet here they were, sharing warmth from the same dying fire. The soldier knew he could not leave them outside for long. Soon patrols would sweep through the area, and if they found the mother and daughter, they would be dragged away. Slowly, he made a decision. "Come," he said, his voice low. The mother narrowed her eyes, but when the girl took his hand without fear, she followed. He led them through broken paths, across burnt soil and twisted metal, until they reached his shelter. It was hidden beneath the wreck of a collapsed building, a place where he had survived many nights alone. The mother stepped inside carefully. Her sharp gaze moved over the walls, the supply box, the narrow cot. It was nothing more than stone, dirt and old iron beams, but to them it was safety. The girl's eyes lit up as she touched the soldier's worn blanket, her small voice whispering, "Home." The word struck him harder than any battle wound. He gave them water. The mother drank slowly, as if testing for poison, then passed the canteen to her daughter. The girl drank greedily, wiping her mouth with her sleeve, her face brighter with each sip. The soldier watched, saying nothing. But inside he felt a quiet warmth. He had not heard the word home in years, and now it came from an alien child. As hours passed, the mother spoke more. Her voice was steady but bitter, carrying stories of betrayal. She told him she had once been a warrior. Proud and strong, she had led soldiers into battle, trusted by her people. But when her forces fell, when her body was scarred, her allies abandoned her, leaving her and her daughter to die. The soldier listened, his chest heavy. He knew the cruelty of war, the way both humans and aliens use the weak as pawns. Her story was not strange to him. It was the same war written in a different language. Still, hearing it from her mouth made it real. The girl curled up close to her mother as she spoke, her small eyes fixed on the soldier, as if waiting to see how he would respond. He could not find the right words. Instead, he tore his ration in half again and gave it to the girl. The mother shook her head at first, pride flashing in her scarred face. But when her daughter held the bread tight, she let her eat. Sometimes survival spoke louder than pride. That night, the soldier lay awake while the mother sharpened her blade in silence. The sound of stone scraping metal echoed in the shelter. It was not a threat, but a reminder. She was here because of her daughter, not because she trusted him, and yet, when her eyes softened for the briefest moment, he saw that trust was beginning to grow. Piece by piece outside, the world did not rest. Distant explosions rolled across the land. Voices of soldiers carried through the night, searching, always searching. The soldier knew he had made a choice that could not be undone. If they found the girl and her mother here, his life would be forfeit. But when he looked at the small figure curled beneath his blanket, sleeping with a faint smile, he felt no regret. She had been starving when he found her, and now she had life in her cheeks. The mother still watched him with sharp suspicion, but her silence was no longer filled with hate. It was filled with the weight of survival, of trust forming in shadows. Together, they waited as the world outside burned. In that broken shelter, something began to change. It was not friendship, not yet. It was not family, not yet. But it was more than enemies, more than strangers. It was the fragile beginning of a bond that could not be undone. And as the soldier closed his eyes, one thought remained. He had given them shelter for a single night, but deep inside he knew they would not leave tomorrow. This was no passing moment. This was the start of something far greater. The secret revealed, the soldier woke to the sound of quiet movement. The alien mother was crouched near the shelter's entrance, her blade in hand, her eyes scanning the ruins beyond. The little girl still slept, curled tightly in the soldier's old blanket. Her breathing soft and steady, it looked almost peaceful. But the soldier knew peace was fragile, a thin glass that could shatter with one sound. He sat up, rubbing the stiffness from his neck. The mother turned, her scarred face half lit by the pale morning. For the first time, she spoke without suspicion in her voice. "You should know who I am," she said slowly, her words rough but clear. "I was once commander of a legion." The soldier froze. He had thought she was only another survivor, a mother hiding in the shadows, but her words carried weight. The kind of weight only a true warrior carried. Her scarred hands, her sharp eyes, her blade that never left her side. They all told the truth now. She was not just a mother abandoned by war. She was once a leader, a fighter who had commanded respect. She looked down at her daughter, her voice dropping. "I fought for my people. But when I was broken, when I could no longer win, they left me." Her jaw tightened, her hand gripping the hilt of her blade as if the memory itself was an enemy. "They called us weak, useless, a burden," she said. Her words bitter. "No one would help. Until you." The soldier felt her words press against his chest. He remembered the girl starving in the ruins, how her hands had trembled when she reached for his bread. He remembered the way she had bowed her head in thanks even when she had nothing left. Now he realized the truth. Both mother and child had been betrayed not only by war, but by their own people. Their survival was not luck. It was desperation. The little girl stirred, opening her eyes slowly when she saw the soldier awake. She smiled and reached out a small hand. "Food. Friend?" she whispered, her broken human words soft but powerful. The mother's sharp gaze softened at the sound, and for a moment the steel in her eyes melted into warmth. The soldier took the girl's hand gently, feeling the tiny weight of trust in her touch. But trust was dangerous. Outside, the war did not rest, and inside the shelter, Secrets carried heavy risks. Already he had broken rules by hiding them. If the patrols found out, he would be branded a traitor. Yet he could not bring himself to push them away. Later that day, the soldier heard footsteps outside. Voices carried through the ruins. Human voices, soldiers searching. The mother tensed, pulling her daughter close, her blade ready. The soldier raised a hand quickly, urging silence. He moved to the entrance. Peering through a crack in the broken wall, 3 soldiers walked past, rifles slung over their shoulders, their eyes sharp. They spoke of illegal alien survivors, of the commander's orders to capture them. The soldier's chest tightened. He knew if they searched deeper, if they found the girl and her mother, everything would end here for a moment. He considered stepping out, pretending he was alone, but his feet would not move. The voices faded as the soldiers moved on. Inside, the mother and daughter had not made a sound. The girl clung to her mother's cloak, her wide eyes filled with fear. The mother exhaled slowly, lowering her blade but keeping her body tense. When the danger passed, the soldier sat back, his heart pounding. The mother looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You risk much," she said quietly, her tone less suspicious now. "Why?" The soldier did not answer at first. He looked at the little girl, who smiled despite the fear that still lingered in her eyes. Finally he spoke, his voice low. "Because when I look at her, I do not see an enemy." The mother held his gaze for a long time, then slowly she nodded, the faintest trace of respect in her eyes. It was not full trust, but it was no longer pure suspicion either. That night, as the fire burned low, the girl sat between them, humming softly. Her voice was small but sweet, filling the shelter with something the soldier had not felt in years. Oh, the mother listened quietly, her eyes closed, as if the song pulled her back to a time before war. The soldier leaned against the wall, letting the sound carry him. In that fragile moment, they were not enemies, not soldiers, not survivors. They were only people sitting in the ruins, holding on to a piece of light in the dark. But the soldier knew the truth could not stay hidden forever. Others would come, others would suspect. And when that happened, he would have to choose still. As the girl laid her head on his shoulder, whispering, "Safe," he knew one thing. No matter the cost, no matter the danger, he would protect them. Because this was no longer just war. This was family, and family was worth every risk. The test the soldier had learned to listen to silence. Silence in war was never empty. It was heavy, waiting, hiding danger behind it. That morning the silence broke with marching steps. Steady and sharp, human voices echoed across the ruins, carrying the tone of authority. An inspection team. The soldier froze. He knew why they had come. The commanders had sent men to search for hidden aliens, to root out survivors and those who sheltered them. If they found the mother and daughter in his shelter, it would not just be their lives at risk. It would be his own. His heartbeat thundered in his ears as he looked at them. The little girl tilted her head, confused by his sudden panic. The mother understood immediately, her sharp instinct seeing the danger in his eyes. She grabbed her daughter's arm, pulling her close without speaking. The soldier pointed to a narrow tunnel at the back of the shelter. It was a crack in the earth hidden under fallen stones, a place he had dug for escape. The mother's eyes flickered with doubt, but when the girl clung to her and whispered, "Safe," she nodded. Together, they crawled into the dark tunnel, their forms swallowed by shadow. The soldier pulled debris over the opening, hiding every trace. Then he stood, straightening his uniform, forcing his face to calm. The footsteps grew louder. 3 soldiers entered the ruins, their rifles slung but their eyes sharp. Their leader, a hard-faced man with scars across his jaw, stepped forward. "Inspection!" he barked. "No alien survives without help, and any man caught hiding them will be punished." His words carried like blades. Cutting the air, the soldier forced himself to nod. He gestured to the broken shelter, letting them search. One soldier kicked over his supply box. Another pulled back the blanket on his cot. The leader's eyes scanned every corner. Cold and suspicious, the soldier stood still, hiding the storm raging in his chest in the tunnel below. The mother held her daughter tightly. The girl pressed her face against her mother's cloak, her small body trembling. The mother's hand covered her daughter's mouth, holding back every breath. A single cough, a single sound, and they would be found. The girl's wide eyes stared at the faint light above. Waiting, praying, above, the inspection dragged on. One soldier lifted the soldier's pack, shaking it out. Another checked the walls for hollow places. For a moment, the leader stood near the hidden tunnel, his boot resting on the stones. The soldier's throat tightened, sweat dripping down his neck. But the leader only grunted, stepping away. "Nothing here," he muttered, though suspicion lingered in his gaze. He pointed a finger at the soldier, his voice low and warning. "If you see any alien filth, you report it." "Understood," the soldier nodded quickly. Though his chest burned with anger, at last they left. Their boots echoing away into the distance, the silence returned, heavy but alive. The soldier exhaled, his knees nearly giving way. He rushed to the back of the shelter, pulling away the stones. The mother and daughter crawled out, their faces pale in the dim light. The girl gasped for air, clinging to him as if she had been drowning. The mother straightened, her blade still clutched in her hand, her eyes burning with both relief and fury. "You risked everything," she said, her voice sharp. The soldier met her gaze, his own voice steady. "They would have taken you. I could not let that happen." For a moment, she studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she lowered her blade, her shoulders sinking with exhaustion. The little girl tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Thank you," her voice trembling but full of life. Her small smile broke through the weight of fear. The soldier felt his chest tighten, realizing he would face this risk again and again. That night, the three of them sat in silence around the fire. The mother sharpened her blade, her eyes thoughtful, no longer filled only with suspicion. The girl hummed softly, her head resting on the soldier's arm, and the soldier stared at the flames, knowing the truth. The test had come, and he had chosen. He could have betrayed them, handed them over to save himself, but he had not. And now the bond between them was no longer fragile. It was forged in fire, in silence, in risk that could not be undone. They were no longer just survivors sharing space, they were bound together by choice. Outside, the war raged on, commanders gave orders. Soldiers marched, enemies clashed, but inside the broken shelter, a soldier, an alien mother, and her child had become something else. Something dangerous, something powerful. A family born not of blood but of defiance, and the soldier knew. Whatever test came next, he would face it with them. The choice the days after the inspection felt heavy. Every sound outside the ruins made the soldier tense. Every shadow looked like another patrol. The mother stayed sharp, always near the tunnel with her blade. The girl, though, seemed lighter, trusting the soldier completely, never leaving his side. But danger grew closer one evening. The soldier was called to a meeting at the outpost. The commander stood before the men, his voice iron and unyielding. "Survivors remain," he declared. "Some humans betray their own by hiding alien scum." His eyes swept across the soldiers like a blade. "From this day, anyone found guilty will be executed." The soldier's chest tightened. The commander's words were not only a warning, they were a trap. Rumors spread quickly. Officers whispered that a hidden family had been seen in the ruins. Rewards were promised for those who reported. The soldier felt every gaze heavier on his back that night. He returned to the shelter with silence in his steps. The mother noticed his expression and stood tall. "What is it?" she asked, though she already knew. "They know," he answered quietly. "Soon they will come again. Stronger." The little girl blinked. Confused by his tone, clutching his hand tightly, the mother spoke in a low voice, her eyes hard. "You must let us go." The soldier shook his head, but she stepped closer, her scars sharp in the firelight. "You risk your life for us," she said. "They will kill you if they find us here." Her words cut deep, but he saw the truth in her eyes. Still, the girl cried out, shaking her head. "No," she whispered, clinging to his arm. "Stay." Her small voice trembled, and her eyes filled with tears. The mother pulled her close, but the child would not release him. She buried her face against his chest, whispering again, "Stay." The soldier felt torn in two. He was bound to his army, sworn to follow orders, sworn to fight for his side. But he was also bound to this small life that had trusted him, and to her mother, who had once been a warrior but now stood as a survivor. His silence was his answer. The mother stared at him, her breath slow. "You choose us," she said, her tone both a question and a truth. The soldier nodded, his jaw tight. "I cannot hand you over," he whispered. "Not after everything." The little girl smiled through her tears, clutching his hand tighter. Outside, thunder rolled from distant artillery. The world beyond their shelter was fire and death. But inside something had been decided. A human soldier had chosen not to obey, but to protect he had chosen family over war. That night was long. The soldier sat with his rifle across his knees, waiting for footsteps that might come. The mother sharpened her blade once more, her eyes softer now, no longer only suspicion. The girl slept between them, her breathing gentle. Her presence bound them together more tightly than any oath. At dawn the soldier stood, the fire was out, the air heavy with smoke from battles far away. He looked at the mother and spoke firmly. "If they come, we run." The mother nodded. No argument left in her eyes, only agreement. The choice had been made, he would not betray them. No matter the cost, no matter the risk in this broken world, he had found something worth protecting, and that was stronger than any order. The girl stirred in her sleep, whispering a word in her broken human tongue. "Family," she murmured. The soldier's chest tightened. The mother looked at him, her scarred face softening as she repeated the word. "Yes, family," she said quietly. The soldier closed his eyes. The choice was dangerous, perhaps fatal, but it was no longer a burden, it was a truth. And he knew when the next storm came, he would stand with them, not as a soldier only, but as something far greater. A new beginning. The morning after his choice, the soldier woke to a strange calm. The ruins were quiet, the sky painted in gray smoke, yet inside the shelter there was warmth. The little alien girl slept with her head against his arm, her breathing soft and steady. The mother sat nearby, her blade resting on her knees, but her eyes no longer held only suspicion. They held something else, trust, fragile but real. The soldier knew the danger had not passed. The commanders would search again, and when they did, this place would no longer be safe. But he also knew he could not abandon them. The girl had given him back something he thought he had lost forever, the feeling that life was more than orders and death. As the day began, the mother stood. Her voice was firm but softer than before. "We must leave," she said. "If we stay, they will find us." The soldier nodded, his chest heavy. He had expected her to leave with her daughter, yet her eyes told him a different truth. The girl clung to his hand, refusing to let go. "Not leave you," she whispered, her broken human words filled with stubborn strength. The mother looked at her daughter, then at him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she bowed her head, the gesture of a warrior giving respect. "You fed her when no one else would," she said quietly. "You hid us, protected us, when even my own people left us behind." Her scarred face was solemn as she spoke the next words. "From this day, you are family." The weight of those words struck deeper than any blade. The soldier felt something shift inside him. He had begun this war as a weapon, a nameless part of an endless machine. But now he had become something more. Not a commander, not an enemy, not even only a protector. He had become part of their lives, bound by trust and choice. That night, they left the ruins together. The soldier carried his rifle. The mother carried her blade, and the girl carried hope in her small hands. The road ahead was dangerous, every step filled with risk. But together they walked, silent yet unafraid. Because they were no longer three lost souls. They were one family. At the edge of the forest, the girl looked up at the soldier. Her eyes shone with a light that broke through the darkness of war. "Home," she whispered again, the same word she had spoken the first time she saw his shelter. The soldier smiled faintly, though his heart was heavy with the battles yet to come. For her mother, he would fight. The war might rage on. Commanders might call him traitor. Enemies might hunt them, but none of that mattered anymore. Because he had made his choice, and that choice had given him something stronger than fear. A reason to stand, a reason to protect, a reason to survive. And that reason was sitting beside him. Small and fragile, but unbreakable. In the broken silence of a dying world, a soldier, an alien warrior. And her child began a new path, not as enemies. Not as strangers, but as family. Their story was not the end of war, but it was the beginning of something greater. Hope. And hope was enough to change everything.